Hello there, welcome back. I'm sorry I had to start again. For some reason I got a message it was a bad connection, which is normal here. And I tried to restart and I showed that it had restarted, but I wasn't sure, nothing was moving. Usually when I see this, there's comments moving and so forth, so apologies for that. And welcome back to those of you that returned. I'm sorry, I'm gonna cry, because I hate technical difficulties. But in case you missed it, I said in the previous one that I started that I know it's Monday because yesterday I wasn't here and I missed you and I felt something was missing from my life. So well, I'm really happy to be back with you, but now I know it's Monday because I know that yesterday was Sunday. So thank you all for coming back and joining. Hello, BTP, Brad Parsons. Probably a lot of people got frozen screens with my face on it. You can delete that previous video. So I'm just gonna repeat a little information in case you didn't hear it or it was cut off, and you can scroll through later on and if you've already heard it. But I decided to do this drink today for you because I really love it. It's a Hanky Panky. And I had a post on my blog about it and I went back to look at it and it looked really red. And I realized I had taken a picture using red bitters instead of red vermouth. And you can see the bottles look pretty similar, even though this one's brighter red and this one's a little darker. If I move them around, the label, you're saying it backwards. Anyway, so I remade the drink, although it was very good with red bitters, so maybe I invented a new cocktail. But the cocktail has red vermouth in it. Even though it has a French spirit in it, the recipe originally appeared in this book, which is the Savoy cocktail book. And let me know if you already got all this, if someone could leave a comment, because, thank you, W2 Insta. Technical difficulty, I get a little whacked out on stuff. But this is a wonderful book. A guest gave it to me. It's an original edition of the 1930 classic, the Savoy cocktail book from the Savoy bar, which was in London. You can see it has beautiful pictures and a lot of recipes that he compiled. This fellow, Harry Craddock, and I'm sure I'm pronouncing his name wrong, Harry Craddock or Harry Craddock. Sorry, somebody who's British maybe can explain it to me, even though I think he was American. This is a reprint of the book, and you can get the book now. I think it's not super expensive. This is a 1970s reprint. Yes, C.S. Weldon. It is a beautiful book, and it's actually quite worth getting. You can find used copies, but it just has beautiful pictures in it. That's a full book. Yep. No need to be flustered. Thank you, Rachel. I'm gonna have a drink soon, don't worry. And I missed you too. And Roman says hi, he might make an appearance later. Otherwise, I wanna do a whole episode with him this week at some point again. At least one more time. Anyhow, this drink was invented by a woman. Her name was Ada Coleman, and she was a bartender at the Savoy for a couple of decades. And people often don't think of women as being bartenders back in those days. Especially because it was kind of scandalous for women to go out on their own. And I have a picture of her in this book called Vintage Spirits and Forgotten Cocktails, which is a great book. But here's what she looks like behind the bar in 1925. And I love that picture because she kind of looks like my grandmother, who could have been a bartender. My grandmother used to like to drink scotch, and she got these Lalique glasses out of her, when she was on her honeymoon in Paris, and she used to drink scotch out of them. And she goes, well, what am I gonna do, die and let you have them? And eventually I got them. She said that as a joke. She was very funny, but she liked her scotch and she liked her cigarettes. Unfortunately, she liked her cigarettes a little too much, but she eventually quit. We used to find them hidden around her house, and that was not good, but we were good sleuths. So this drink also has gin in it. It has a French spirit, red vermouth from Chambéry, made in the French Alps by our friends at Dolin. And you can buy this anywhere. You can buy this in the US, you can buy it in France. It's quite easy to find actually, which is great because it's good vermouth. And I got some gin. And I was very happy to get a little, I guess, confinement care package from a company that makes plantation rum. And this is the rum, and it's flavored with Victoria pineapples, which are smaller pineapples from Tahiti usually. They're not like those big ones from Costa Rica. They're slender and they're very sweet and delicious. And they also sent me these glasses to go, which are so fabulous. I don't know if you can see them. Thank you. I'm glad you're happy to follow me, Andy with the eye. And plantation rum, yes, it's quite good. So I'm trying to get Alexander, who owns the distillery, to be on the show. Hopefully he'll be here next week. And he's really interesting. And I once went on a trip to Cognac. It was a press trip. And after those press trips, you're sitting on buses. They're not always fun because you're getting up early, you're doing a lot of stuff, you have zero free time. And they made me at one point sit through a PowerPoint presentation, which put me to sleep, and I was just dying. So we got to Alexander's place and he started talking and I perked up. And I learned a lot about cognac from him, but he also makes Citadel gin and rum, plantation rum. So I'm hoping to have him on next week. So we all want to see Alexander. And if his wife's on, hi Debbie, because she comes sometimes gets on here. So today's drink is called the Hanky Panky. And the reason it's called that is because apparently Ada had made this drink for a man and he loved it so much. And he said, that's the Hanky Panky, or something to that effect. And it stuck, which is a funny name. And now, Hanky Panky means something maybe a little racier, but it's a stirred cocktail. And the general rule about making cocktails, stirred versus shaken usually has fruit juice in them, and stirred doesn't. Shaking emulsifies a cocktail. It makes it, it aerates it a little and gives it some légèreté. Whereas like a daiquiri, everyone loves the rosemary, or the gimlet, the rosemary gimlet that we had the other day. And thank you all for your comments. Now you see why it's Roman's favorite drink. So he thinks every bar in the world has it because he orders a rosemary gimlet every time. But you have to get it. The recipe is in my book, Drinking French, or it's on my blog as well. So anyhow, where was I? Oh, talking about shaking versus stirring. So this drink was originally shaken. A lot of people get really upset if you shake drinks that aren't supposed to be shaken. Or they're like, that's supposed to, a kitten dies every time you shake a Manhattan. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know if there's probably a lot of kitten killers out there if that's the truth. But according to the Savoy cocktail book, this cocktail was originally shaken. And now most people stir this kind of cocktail because it doesn't have fruit juice in it. You do not need a fancy stirring glass. This is one. I think I might have gotten it on eBay. It wasn't super expensive. It was maybe 20 euros. And they are worth having because it makes having a drink a little, it's like having a nice glass. But if you don't have it, hi Elise, how are you? You can use a measuring cup. Or you can use a pitcher like this lemonade, well, I call it a lemonade pitcher that I found at a French flea market for a quarter, I think. Yes, I'm back, Ellen. And you're back too, thank you for coming. Yes, Debbie, Miss Wang, rules, just drink. I made a comment the other day on Twitter that it was very nice that the authenticity police seems to have taken a break during the virus because we're all using the wrong shaped pasta to mix with our tomato sauce, or adding, we're just all cooking with whatever we can. And usually those people, a lot of people go around and they go, my grandmother said you should never use that shaped pasta, or you should never use that kind of wine with this, and da-da-da-da-da. So everyone's taking a break, which is very nice, so we can all relax and eat and drink and enjoy ourselves and be happy. If you don't have a cocktail mixing spoon, you can use a soup spoon or chopstick. Basically, you just do that. So you don't need any of this equipment to make a cocktail, and you don't even need a strainer. This is a OXO strainer, just a modern strainer. You can buy these anywhere. This is a vintage one that I bought at a flea market. And yes, double rocks glasses are good with cocktails, Carol. It's nice to have those heavy. I never understood why people bought fancy glassware, and then if you pick up a Baccarat old-fashioned glass and you have some whiskey in it, it's really good. It just feels better. But you don't need fancy glasses. Or you can use one of these as a strainer. This I think I got, you know, at some houseware store for not a lot of money. So you don't need a lot of fancy equipment. You just need liquor, a glass to drink it from. Everything else you probably have in your kitchen. So the Hanky Panky is a super interesting, yet very easy drink because it has gin. It's got red vermouth, which is also called sweet vermouth. And it has this special ingredient, which I call Fernet Branca. And I know my friend Brad Parsons is out there and his ears hurt because it's Fernet Branca. But in French, you don't pronounce the final T, and I'm used to saying it Fernet Branca, Fernet Branca, Fernet Branca. And it took me a long time to train my ear to speak and to listen and to understand in French rather than other languages. So I still call it Fernet Branca. It's hard to change. Speaking of French, this is something called Fernet Valais. And it's made in Mexico. Someone's saying it's a good cure for a hangover. I know, but it tastes icky. Yes, Brad, Fernet Branca. He's the one who's sending things that are taking down the stream now. That's okay. He's a good drinking buddy. And he's the godfather of drinking French. He helped me a lot understanding how to write a spirits book because he wrote several himself. Fernet Valais, this is actually from Mexico. A lot of people think, what, Mexican Fernet or Fernet? In the early 1800s, France tried to colonize Mexico and it didn't go very well, which is probably why we don't have very good Mexican food in France. There was just never the connection. There was no colonization. We have rum because there was colonization, but Mexico, not so much. However, the colonization didn't work, but a chemist named Henri Vallet, or Valette, Brad, Henri Valette started distilling, and he made this Fernet Valais. You can buy this in the U.S. The word I use for it is brackish. If you've had Fernet or Fernet Branca, it's a tough thing to drink. It's very rugged and brutal, and you feel like you're being punished when you drink it, and that's part of the thrill and the joy of it. This one's even more rugged. So I use it because it's fun. I bought a bottle. The drink only has a little bit of it. If you don't have one of these, somebody left a comment. You can use any sort of Amaro. You can use Ramazaro. I'm probably getting the name wrong. Chinar. Whatever you have on hand. This is a French bitter called Picon Amer, or Amer Picon. And is there an equivalent to Fernet? Somebody's asking. Rona. Not that I know of. Oh, sorry. Like I said, you can use any Amaro. And Ms. DFR from Connecticut, Averna is really good. But somebody else said I wasn't selling it that well. It's not something I drink a lot of, but I know a lot of people are really into it, and that's okay. People like black licorice. I don't like it. Some people don't like oysters. Everything is good. You know, I don't know why people spend a lot of time telling people they should try something if they don't like it. It's like, just let them not like black licorice, okay? We don't want to eat black licorice. We want red licorice. Oops, everybody just left. Half the people just left. So anyhow, this cocktail's super easy. Gonna start with the mixing glass. It's 1 part gin. So 1.5 ounces of gin. And I wonder if my friend Jeff, who's helped me learn how to be a bartender, like I said, the first day I started doing these, put the label out so people can see what you're doing. Or make sure they're getting what they ordered. All right, 1.5 ounces of gin. Then 1.5 ounces, not of red bitters, but red vermouth. Oh, thanks. Glad you like the shirt. Can I post the booze you use after? Well, I'm letting you know right now. Andy, I'm using Citadel Gin and Dolan Vermouth. I don't usually like to call, whoops, I got a little carried away there. I generally don't like to call for specific brands and recipes just because people have their own likes and dislikes. They have their own budget. Not everybody wants to spend $60 on a bottle of gin, and then they say, well, can I use Beefeater, which is whatever, $20? And it's like, sure, but I don't want people to have that worry that they're gonna use the wrong gin. In certain places like chartreuse, nobody else makes chartreuse, so you have to use that. But although somebody asked me about that, and I said, well, you can use Izara, and it's not so, it's not the same thing. I was gonna say it's not as good. So I'm just gonna put two dashes of this in, and I was gonna actually pour it into a glass first, because this, whatever they put into the stopper, it comes out really fast, as you saw. So this is what it looks like. I'll actually show you. I'm gonna take out a rubber stopper here. So it's pretty inky. What's the shelf life of vermouth? Well, the fancy people say, or the people in the know say 3 weeks after you open it in the refrigerator. That's great if you have a bar and you're going through a lot of vermouth. For a home cook, a couple of months, I say. You can buy half bottles of vermouth, use one of those. Buy one of those if you can. They don't sell those in France, but I know they sell them in the US. So that's the shelf life of vermouth. And once vermouth is no longer, taste it. If it tastes good, it's still good. Once it's lost its vigor, use it for cooking. So I'm just gonna add 2 dashes of Fernet Vallée. I guess I can call it Fernet because it's French. And I'm gonna add one, this is not in the original recipe, but I think the orange rounds it out. I'm gonna add a dash of orange bitters. Some recipes I've seen, they add orange juice to it, which I think takes the drink in a different direction. So the only direction this drink is going is in my mouth. All right. So I've got 1.5 ounces of gin, 1.5 ounces of red vermouth, 2 dashes of Fernet Vallée or Fernet Branca, and a dash of orange bitters. So I'm going to add ice to my mixing glass. And stir. And you want to stir for about at least 10 seconds. 15 seconds is good. You really want to get the drink cold, and you want to dilute it. I've heard people say, oh, you don't want to shake something because it dilutes it. Well, that's the whole idea. Otherwise, you're just drinking really strong alcohol out of a glass. Let's see. Why don't you shake some drinks? Because you want to keep their transparency. How do you use used vermouth after the use-by date? Well, the white can be used for braising on the stovetop. Like if you're deglazing a pan, you want to make, you're frying chicken breast, you deglaze with white vermouth. So I'm going to grab my glass out of the freezer. And another one of the things that I love more than anything is a really cold cocktail. And as soon as I took the glass out, Romain showed up. So I have one of these old-fashioned strainers, and somebody noticed in the book that I had put it in the mixing glass like this. And they said, I never saw anybody do it that way. But I like to use this kind that way because I think that having that convex side holds the ice cubes back further. So I'm going to pour it in here. Whoa. This is called a Nick and Nora glass. If you ever saw one of the Thin Man movies, they're really funny because it's about a couple who are detectives, Nick and Nora, and all they do is drink. They're always having a martini or some sort of drink, and they drink out of these glasses. And I read somewhere once that the reason they do that is because they like to drink a lot of drinks, so they have small glasses. So I'm going to move this down. Bonjour, Romain. And he showed up for a cocktail. He knows when it's apéro hour. He's a true Frenchman. He likes to eat and likes to drink. Tu aimes le boisson ou tu veux manger? Ou...
C'est avec du Fernet Branca?
Oups, j'ai besoin d'une orange. Wait. I cut a lemon out by accident. Ça, c'est un pamplemousse. Oui.
Tu veux que je la lave?
Non, ça va, parce que c'est bio. All right. So I'm just going to, take a thin piece off. Make a twist. Et ça, c'est un cocktail qui s'appelle Hanky Panky.
J'ai entendu dans la voiture.
OK. Voilà.
Hanky Panky.
Oui. So, goûte ça.
Pour toi?
No.
Voici.
I actually made one earlier so that I could have one with them.
Cheers.
But you're getting the raw. Everybody who has a French partner, you always get the raw. They don't varnish things, so if they like something, they're telling the truth. If they don't, they will too.
Delicious.
C'est bon?
Very delicious.
Okay.
Everybody for the santé.
C'est très bon.
Hanky Panky.
Hanky.
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 Right.
Hanky Hanky.
Yes. French people have trouble pronouncing H at the beginning of words because it's not pronounced in French. If you say it's hours, H-E-U-R-S. You don't say her. You say or les heures.
Right.
So you don't pronounce the H in French. And a French friend of mine was learning English, and he's like, "What's with the silent K in front of things like knife and no?" And I said, "Well, it's your H. The American K, the English K is the French H." And he's like, "Oh yeah." So I don't have all the ingredients, but you have a gin and tonic and call it a faux hanky panky. You can call it whatever you want. Your home, it's your house. I love it when they say hipsters instead of hipsters. Tu dis hipster ou hipster?
Hipster.
Les hipsters. Hipsters.
Et the water in the cocktail?
Non, c'est du gin, du gin, le vermouth, et c'est ça. Tu connais ça? And he's going to say it the French way for Brad.
The Fernet Branca.
Okay. Even though he's part Italian. And part Swiss, part Italian, mostly French though.
My father, I like Fernet Branca tonight. It's to fabulous sleep.
Well, it's funny how people hold on to their accents. I have American friends that speak French with a perfect French accent. And I have French friends who have lived in America 40, 50 years, and they have very strong French accents, even though their English is perfect. So it's all good, and we're all trying to understand each other. Tu me comprends?
Oui.
Très bien.
It's a very...
He's just waiting for his turn to talk.
It's very formidable because you go to my studio and 30 minutes normal. It's today is 7 minutes.
So he just had to drive somewhere, and it normally takes 30 minutes, and it only took 7 because France is under lockdown, and you're not supposed to go out. He was doing a work-related thing. Somebody's asking what the pretzels are. I went shopping. I'm trying to go shopping only once a week because I don't want to go out any more than I have to. And I try to go as soon as they open. And I try to buy a lot of stuff. And once I sent a certain someone whose name I won't mention, but it begins with an R, out to get some food. And he came home with 2 items. I said, well, you need to get a lot of stuff when you go. So now we're on the same page. So these I bought when I went shopping the other day because I like to have snacks around for Apéros. And these are spelt pretzels, les pretzels. Mais tu dis sticks.
Oui, c'est vrai, oui.
Ouais. They call them sticks in French. And everything's backwards. We open the pretzels. Sticks. On dit sticks. Wait. C'est bon avec l'apéro. Bon.
Different for state, the pretzel.
Different than in the US.
Very light.
Right. So I was thinking maybe this week we have Romain do a lesson on making infusions and tisanes. Tu peux faire les tisanes, les infusions? Because he's very good at that. And it's a lot of fun to learn about those. And you can use fresh herbs, you can use dried herbs. I have some recipes in my book, Drinking French, for different, with different quantities and different amounts. But generally in France, you just sort of guess. So I'm going to have him show you this week. Tu veux faire ça cette semaine?
Yes.
Okay.
My pleasure.
Okay. So thank you all for coming. And like I said, it was really nice to see you again. I missed you on Sunday. So feel free to leave any comments, what you'd like to see in the future in terms of drinks. I've got some drinks. I've got some special guests lined up this week that I think you're going to like. Tomorrow, I've got somebody super special. I've got Jeffrey Morgenthaler from Portland, Oregon, and he's a very well-known bartender. And I've never met him in person, but we corresponded. We became pen pals when I was working on my book, and I was supposed to do something with him on my book tour, and that got postponed till next fall. But I'm looking forward to that tomorrow. So tomorrow at the same time, I'll be here with bartender Jeffrey Morgenthaler, and he's going to show you how a pro mixes a drink. I'm doing it. I'm the home cook, so that's okay. He's a real pro, and he's been doing it a long time. And he's a great guy. He's a lot of fun. So do come back tomorrow for him. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yes.
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Ça c'est le mien, ça c'est le tien.
Okay. See, I drank more quickly than you.
Tu bois dans mon verre, mais c'est pas grave.
No,
Si.
c'est la mienne.
Et everybody, restez chez vous. C'est pas fini, le confinement, malheureusement.
Stay at home. It's not over the confinement.
C'est très important.
Sadly, it's
de
very
garder
important.
les distances sociales.
It's important to guard the social distance.
Pour pas recommencer un pic dans les hôpitaux.
Oui, and in France, it's interesting, or in Europe, they're saying to stay a meter apart, which is 3 feet. And in the US, they're saying 2 meters. Parce qu'en Europe, elle dit en mètres. Mais aux États-Unis, c'est 2 mètres.
C'est mieux.
He said so it's better. So stay apart from people, but stay in touch with everybody. I did a little Zoom Apéro with my friends, and it was nice. It's nice to do these videos. I've been watching some of them to other people, and it's really nice to see other people actually unfiltered, because so much stuff on the internet has become very polished and perfect, and it's kind of nice to see stuff that's sort of real. So thank you. Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
Thank you very much.
And we'll see you tomorrow.
To next.
Okay. C'est quoi?
La prochaine fois.
À la prochaine fois. Next time.
Next time.
Okay.
Bye
Ciao.
bye.
Bye.